The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. Not by accident. Elena threw it. "You pathetic excuse for a man!" she screamed, her designer dress shimmering under ballroom lights as 300 guests watched in frozen horror. "You think you can embarrass me? You're nothing. A zero. A mistake I made 7 years ago that I've been paying for ever since." But Colton Reed didn't flinch. He stood there, calm as winter morning, holding a single envelope in his hand. The envelope that would destroy everything she'd built on lies. "Actually, Elena," he said quietly, his voice cutting through a rage like a knife through silk, "the only mistake here was yours. And everyone's about to find out exactly what you've been hiding." The room held its breath. What was in that envelope? How did a man everyone called a charity case suddenly have the power to make Connecticut's most ruthless businesswoman turn pale as a ghost? Stick around, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about revenge. And before we dive in, if you love stories about karma hitting hard, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. 3 weeks earlier, Colton sat in the corner of the Ashford Manor dining room, watching his wife's family celebrate Thanksgiving like they were royalty, which in Greenwich, Connecticut, they basically were. Crystal chandeliers hung from 20-foot ceilings. The table could seat 30 people comfortably. Everyone wore clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Elena's father, Randolph Ashford, sat at the head like a king surveying his kingdom. And Colton? He was the court jester nobody found funny. "Colton, darling," Elena called out, her voice dripping with honey that tasted like poison. "Tell everyone about your little computer thing. What do you call it? Your passion project?" 24 pairs of eyes turned to him. His throat tightened. "Just some coding work. Nothing major. Nothing major." Elena laughed, touching her cousin Daphne's arm. "That's the understatement of the century. He stays up until 3 in the morning typing away like he's going to invent the next Facebook or something. 7 years of this. 7 years." Daphne giggled. "Well, everyone needs a hobby, I suppose." "A hobby that pays $0 while I foot every single bill," Elena continued, raising her wine glass. "The mortgage on our townhouse? Me. The cars? Me. That suit he's wearing right now? Also me. But hey, at least he's pretty to look at, right?" The table erupted in uncomfortable laughter. Colton's jaw clenched. His fingers gripped his fork, so tight his knuckles turned white. "Breathe," he told himself. Just breathe. But inside, something cracked. Something that had been bending for 7 years finally snapped. You know that feeling when someone keeps pushing and pushing, and you just take it because you think maybe you deserve it? Maybe you're not good enough? Maybe they're right? Colton had felt that way for so long, he'd almost forgotten what his own voice sounded like. Almost. Elena's brother, Prescott, leaned forward with a smirk. "So, Colton, when exactly does the startup of yours plan to make actual money? I mean, statistically speaking, most fail within the first year. You're on year 7. Might be time to get a real job, don't you think?" "Prescott," Elena waved her hand dismissively. "Don't be cruel. Colton's trying. He's just not very good at business. Or money. Or pretty much anything except looking handsome at my company events." More laughter. Colton excused himself to the bathroom. Nobody noticed. In the marble-tiled restroom that was bigger than his childhood bedroom, he stared at his reflection. 32 years old. Engineering degree from a state school nobody in his family respected. Married to a woman who introduced him to her colleagues as "my charity project." His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mr. Reed, this is Josephine Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. I need to speak with you urgently regarding your Uncle Bernard's estate. Please call me at your earliest convenience. This matter is time-sensitive." Uncle Bernard? Colton hadn't thought about his mother's brother in years. The family oddball who disappeared to Alaska when Colton was 12. The relative Elena's family made jokes about at gatherings. The crazy hermit who chose bears over civilization. Probably wants money for the funeral, Colton thought bitterly. He pocketed the phone and returned to dinner. The evening dragged on like a prison sentence. After dessert, Some fancy French thing Colton couldn't pronounce. Elena stood up with her champagne glass raised. Everyone, a toast. The room quieted. To my wonderful husband, Colton, she began, her smile sharp as broken glass. You might not make a single penny. You might spend every night on a laptop instead of paying attention to your wife. You might be the most financially useless partner a woman could ask for. Colton's heart pounded. But at least you're cute. She winked at her cousin. And honestly, in this economy, having a pretty house husband isn't the worst thing. So here's to you, darling, the man who proved that love isn't about money, because Lord knows you don't have any. The room exploded with laughter. Elena took a bow. Colton sat frozen, his face burning with humiliation. This is it. Something inside him whispered. This is the moment everything changes. He didn't know how right that voice was. Later that night, after they returned to their townhouse in Greenwich's historic district, Colton lay awake while Elena snored softly beside him. She'd had too much wine. She always did at family events. His phone glowed in the darkness. 3:47 a.m. He couldn't sleep, couldn't stop hearing that laughter, couldn't stop seeing the smug satisfaction on Elena's face as she destroyed him in front of everyone who mattered in her world. Call the lawyer, the voice whispered. What do you have to lose? He slipped out of bed, grabbed his laptop, and went to the spare room, the one Elena called his nerd cave with barely disguised contempt. 3 monitors, scattered energy drink cans, lines of code that would make most people's eyes cross. This was his sanctuary, his secret. The thing Elena mocked mercilessly was the only thing keeping him sane. He dialed Josephine Hartwell's number, not expecting anyone to answer at 4 a.m. Mr. Reed. A crisp voice answered immediately. I was hoping you'd call. Colton blinked. It's 4 a.m. I'm aware. I'm in London currently, handling another client affairs. Do you have a moment to discuss your inheritance? Inheritance? Look, if Uncle Bernard left me his fishing cabin or something, that's nice, but your uncle left you approximately $47 million. The room spun. I'm sorry, what? 47 million, Josephine repeated calmly, like she was discussing the weather, plus property holdings in Alaska, Montana, and surprisingly, a penthouse in Manhattan. Your Uncle Bernard was quite the investor, Mr. Reed. He started with oil ventures in the 70s and diversified brilliantly. He never married, had no children, and left everything to you with one specific condition. Colton couldn't breathe. What condition? That you be free from manipulative influences when you claim it. His words exactly. The will specifically states that if you're in a relationship he deemed exploitative or controlling, you must dissolve it before accessing the funds. He was very particular about this. Apparently, he'd been watching your situation for some time. Watching my situation? Your uncle had investigators, Mr. Reed. He knew about your wife's treatment of you. He knew about her affairs. The world stopped. Affairs? Plural? Josephine's voice softened slightly. I'm emailing you a file right now. I suggest you read it in private. And Mr. Reed, your uncle left you a personal letter. I think you should read that first. The email arrived with a soft ping. Colton opened it with shaking hands. The letter was typed, but the signature was Bernard's familiar scrawl. Colton, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably confused as hell. Good. Confusion means you're paying attention. I've watched you these past 7 years through people I hired. Watched that woman grind you down piece by piece. Watched you stay up nights building something brilliant while she convinced you that you were worthless. You're not worthless, kid. You never were. Your code? I had experts look at it. You've built something that could change everything, but you've been too beaten down to see it. The money I'm leaving you isn't charity. It's ammunition. Use it to free yourself. Use it to fight back. Use it to become the man I know you can be. But here's the deal. You can't touch a penny while you're still married to that viper. I won't fund your continued humiliation. Either you grow a spine and leave, or the money goes to charity. Your choice. Choose wisely. Uncle Bernard. P.S. Check the other attachments. You want to see what she's really been up to. Colton's hands trembled as he opened the first PDF. It was a private investigator's report dated 6 months ago. Subject, Elena Ashford Reed. Surveillance period, January 2024 to June 2024. Summary. Subject has been engaged in an ongoing extramarital affair with her direct supervisor, Preston Caldwell, 42, Vice President of Operations at Ashford Industries. Meetings occurred 2 to 3 times weekly at the following locations. The list went on. Hotels, his apartment, even their beach house in the Hamptons. The one Elena had insisted they buy for us, but never invited Colton to. There were photos, timestamps, text message transcripts that made his stomach turn. Can't wait until I'm free of that dead weight. Elena to Preston, March 14th. When are you going to leave him? Preston to Elena, April 2nd. Soon. Just need to secure some things first. Can't let him walk away with anything. Elena to Preston, April 2nd. Colton read until dawn broke through the window. By the time the sun painted the sky pink and gold, Colton read, the man everyone called worthless, the man his own wife had turned into a punchline, was smiling. Not a happy smile, a dangerous one. He opened his laptop, started typing. Not code this time, a plan. And for the first time in 7 years, Colton felt something he'd almost forgotten existed. Power. What was Colton planning? How would he use his uncle's fortune? And what else was hiding in those investigation files? Monday morning, 6:47 a.m. Elena stood in front of their bathroom mirror, applying lipstick the color of fresh blood. I'm taking the Porsche today, she announced, not looking at Colton. You can use the Honda if you need groceries or whatever you do all day. Colton sat on the bed, watching her, really watching her for the first time in years. The way she moved, every gesture calculated for maximum elegance. The way she talked, every word designed to remind him of his place beneath her. Even the way she breathed seemed practiced, rehearsed, perfect. God, he'd loved her once. Or had he? Maybe he just loved who she pretended to be in the beginning. Actually, Colton said calmly, I have some meetings today. I'll take the Porsche. Elena froze, lipstick hovering midair. Excuse me? Meetings? For my startup. I'll need the good car. She turned slowly, her eyes narrow. Your startup? Colton, we've talked about this. That little coding project isn't. I know what you think it is, he interrupted, standing up, but I have actual investor meetings today, so I'm taking the Porsche. For a moment, something flickered across Elena's face. Confusion? Fear? Then her usual mask slammed back into place. Fine. Whatever. Take the stupid car. She grabbed her designer bag. Just don't embarrass yourself too badly. You know how you get nervous and sweaty around important people. She kissed the air near his cheek and swept out of the room. Colton listened to her heels click down the hallway, heard the front door close, waited for the sound of the Honda starting in the driveway. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. Josephine, it's Colton Reed. I'm ready to move forward. All of it. I want everything in motion by Friday. Tuesday brought the first domino. Colton drove to Hartford to meet with Josephine Hartwell in person. Her office occupied the top floor of a building that looked like it was made entirely of glass and money. She was 60-something, with silver hair pulled back so tight it could have been a facelift, and eyes that missed absolutely nothing. Mr. Reed. She shook his hand firmly. Shall we? They settled into leather chairs that probably cost more than Elena's Porsche. I've drawn up the paperwork per your uncle's instructions. Josephine slid a folder across her desk. However, before you sign anything, I need to make sure you understand the full scope of what we discovered about your wife. I read the reports. Did you read page 47? Colton's stomach dropped. There are 47 pages. Josephine's expression didn't change. There are 63, actually. Page 47 is just particularly relevant. She pulled out a different folder, handed him a single sheet. Financial investigation addendum. Elena Ashford Reed. Discovery. Subject has been systematically embezzling from Ashford Industries through falsified vendor accounts. Estimated total, $2.3 million over 4 years. Funds transferred to offshore accounts shared with Preston Caldwell. The paper trembled in Colton's hands. She's been stealing from her own family's company for years, and Mr. Caldwell, her supervisor, has been helping. They've been quite clever about it, actually. Small amounts, spread across dozens of fake consulting contracts. If our investigator hadn't been specifically looking for financial irregularities, it might have gone unnoticed for years longer. Does her family know? Not yet. That's your decision, Mr. Reed. This information belongs to you as part of your uncle's investigation. What you do with it is entirely up to you. Colton stared at the numbers. $2.3 million. While Elena had been calling him worthless, mocking his lack of income, making him feel like a burden, she'd been stealing millions. There's one more thing, Josephine said quietly. Page 51. She didn't hand it to him this time, just turned her computer monitor around. It was a medical report from a clinic in Manhattan. Patient, Elena Ashford Reed. Date, October 15th, 2024. Test, pregnancy confirmation. Result, positive. Estimated conception, late September 2024. The room tilted. We cross-referenced your credit cards, your calendar, her calendar, everything we could access legally, Josephine explained. Late September, you were in Boston for a tech conference. 3 days. Elena told you she was at a corporate retreat in the Berkshires. She wasn't. No, she was at Preston Caldwell's apartment in Manhattan. Our investigator has photos, timestamps, everything you'd need to establish. It's not mine. The words came out flat. Dead. The baby is mine. Josephine nodded. We can't prove that definitively without DNA testing, but the timeline is highly suggestive. More importantly, we found text messages between Elena and Mr. Caldwell discussing their future and finally starting their real family. Colton stood up, walked to the window, stared out at Hartford skyline. Behind him, Josephine spoke softly. Your uncle knew you discovered difficult things. That's why he gave you the resources to fight back properly. The question is, how do you want to proceed? Colton was quiet for a long time. Then, I want to hire the private investigator who did this report. I want to know everything. Every detail, every movement, every lie, and I want it all documented legally. Already arranged. He's downstairs waiting to meet you. I want the best divorce attorney in Connecticut. Her name is Francesca Moretti. She's legendary. Also downstairs. And I want... Colton turned around, his face harder than Josephine had ever seen it. I want to make sure that when this is over, everyone knows exactly who Elena really is. Not just me. Everyone. Josephine allowed herself a small smile. Your uncle would be proud. For the next 2 weeks, Colton became a ghost in his own life. He smiled when Elena expected it, stayed quiet when she mocked him, played the role of the useless husband so perfectly that Elena never suspected the trap closing around her. But every night, after she fell asleep, he worked. The private investigator, a former FBI agent named Luther Briggs, provided updates daily. November 14th, Elena met Preston at the Plaza Hotel. 2 hours. Room 847. November 16th. Elena withdrew $15,000 cash from joint account. Gave it to Preston. Security footage attached. November 19th. Overheard phone conversation, legal recording, public space. Just a few more months and we can disappear. The Cayman accounts are ready. Colton documented everything. Meanwhile, Francesca Moretti, a woman who looked like someone's sweet grandmother but argued cases like a shark in designer heels, prepared the legal assault. Your prenup is actually helpful, she explained during one midnight meeting at her office. Elena insisted on it to protect her family's assets. Ironically, it also protects you. Anything you own before marriage stays yours. Any inheritance you receive is yours alone. She gets nothing. What about the embezzlement? That's trickier. If you report it now, it becomes a criminal matter. Police, investigation, trial could take years. And if I wait, Francesca's eyes glittered. If you wait until the right moment, say, a very public moment, and present ironclad evidence to her family directly, they'll handle it privately to avoid scandal. Much faster, much more devastating to Elena personally. How devastating? She'd lose everything. Her job, her trust fund, her place in the family, her social standing. Everything she values. Colton thought about 7 years of humiliation. Perfect. Meanwhile, Elena's perfect life continued without a single crack. On November 21st, she hosted a charity luncheon at the country club. Colton attended as her silent accessory, smiling blandly while she worked the room. "This is my husband, Colton." She'd introduce him with a patronizing pat on his arm. "He's between careers right now, but he's very supportive of my work." Between careers. Like he was some failed stockbroker instead of a man with an engineering degree who'd been building something revolutionary while she slept. During dessert, Elena's mother, Constance Ashford, a woman who'd had so much plastic surgery her face looked permanently surprised, leaned over to Colton. "Elena tells me you're still doing that computer thing." "Yes, Mrs. Ashford." You know, Colton, there's no shame in admitting when something isn't working out. Perhaps it's time to consider a more traditional career. Elena's father has connections at several firms. Entry-level positions, of course, but it's a start. Entry-level. After 7 years of marriage, after a degree from MIT that he'd worked 3 jobs to afford. "That's very kind," Colton said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But I'm actually close to a breakthrough. Very close." Constance patted his hand like he was a confused child. "Of course you are, dear. Of course you are." Across the table, Elena caught his eye and smirked. She had no idea that Luther Briggs was currently installing cameras in Preston Caldwell's apartment building. Had no idea that Francesca Moretti was drafting divorce papers that would rip her life apart. Had no idea that her husband, her stupid, worthless, pathetic husband, was 7 moves ahead of her. That night, Elena came home late. "Working dinner," she explained, though her lipstick was smudged and her dress was wrinkled in ways that suggested activities other than dining. "How was it?" Colton asked from the couch, his laptop open. "Exhausting. Preston, Mr. Caldwell, is so demanding. The quarterly reports are killing me." The lie came so easily to her. Colton wondered how many times she'd lied before. Hundreds? Thousands? "You should get some rest," he said gently. She yawned. "I should. Oh, by the way, I'm planning something special for our anniversary next month. A big party. I've already booked the ballroom at the club." "That sounds nice. It'll be everyone important. All of Greenwich society. I want to show you off." She smiled, and for a moment, Colton saw a flash of the woman he'd married. "Despite everything, you're still mine." Yes, Colton thought as she headed upstairs. Despite everything. He opened his encrypted files. Reviewed the plan one more time. The anniversary party. December 20th. 300 guests. Everyone who mattered in Elena's world. Perfect. He opened a new email to Francesca and Luther. "We go on December 20th. Make sure everything is ready. I want this to be unforgettable." December arrived with cold winds and Christmas lights strung across Greenwich Avenue. Elena threw herself into party planning with manic energy. She wanted everything perfect. The flowers, the music, the guest list. She had no idea she was planning her own destruction. On December 15th, 5 days before the party, Colton received a package at a secret P.O. box. Inside, a positive pregnancy test and a note in Elena's handwriting. "For P, proof of our future. Can't wait to tell everyone at Christmas. Just need to figure out how to break it to the dead weight first. Love you, E." She was planning to announce the pregnancy, Preston's baby, at a party full of people who thought Colton was a father. The final humiliation. Luther Briggs called 10 minutes later. "Got something you need to see. Can you meet?" They met at a diner off I-95, far from anywhere Elena's family would go. Luther slid a tablet across the table. "This is from yesterday. Preston's apartment. Audio and video." Colton pressed play. Elena's voice filled his headphones. Once I announce a baby, everyone will assume it's his. Then I'll file for divorce, claim he was abusive or something, take him for whatever I can, and we're free. The Cayman money will be waiting. Preston's voice, what if he fights it? Elena laughed. Colton? Fight? Please. That man doesn't have a spine. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. He always does. The video ended. Colton sat very still. There's more, Luther said. We traced the Cayman accounts. She's been moving money for 2 years. Not just embezzle funds. She's been siphoning from the joint accounts, her trust fund, everything. Total amount offshore is close to $4 million. She's been planning this for 2 years. At minimum, maybe longer. Colton thought about the last 2 years. The increased cruelty, the public humiliations, the calculated destruction of his confidence. All of it had been a plan. Make him weak enough that he'd never fight back when she finally struck. What do you need from me? Luther asked. Colton looked up, and his eyes were cold as winter. Can you get all of this? Every recording, every document, every photo, ready to present at the party? I want it organized, clear, undeniable. Easy. But Colton, this is nuclear. You sure you want to do it in front of 300 people? She humiliated me in front of her family. In front of everyone. For 7 years. Colton's voice was steady. Turnabout is fair play. Luther nodded slowly. Your uncle would have liked you. Did you know him? Worked a few cases for him before he died. He was a bastard, but a righteous one. He believed people who hurt others should face consequences. Luther packed up the tablet. You're a lot like him. After Luther left, Colton sat in the diner booth for a long time. A waitress refilled his coffee. You okay, hon? You look like someone died. Someone did, Colton said quietly. A long time ago. But he's coming back. December 20th arrived with snow. Big. Fat flakes that made Greenwich look like a Christmas card. Elena woke up buzzing with excitement. Today is going to be perfect, she sang, practically dancing to the closet. I have the most amazing surprise planned. Me too, Colton said. She didn't hear him. Too busy deciding between 2 designer dresses that both cost more than a used car. By 6 p.m., the country club ballroom glittered like a jewelry box. Ice sculptures, champagne towers, a string quartet playing classical music, 300 guests in formal wear, representing every powerful family in Greenwich and beyond. Elena worked the room in a silver gown that hugged curves she'd been maintaining obsessively since discovering the pregnancy. Preston Caldwell stood near the bar, watching her with barely concealed hunger. Colton arrived exactly at 7, alone, in a suit that Elena had never seen before, because he'd bought it himself, with his uncle's money, and it cost more than everything in his old wardrobe combined. Elena spotted him and frowned slightly. Something was different. The way he stood, the way he moved through the crowd. He looked confident. Darling, she said, gliding over with a champagne flute. You're late. Traffic. Well, you're here now. Come, I want to make the toast soon. I have the most wonderful announcement. So do I. Elena's smile faltered. What? I have an announcement too. Actually, several. Before she could respond, the ballroom doors opened. Josephine Hartwell walked in, flanked by 2 people Elena recognized. Francesca Moretti, the divorce attorney, and someone in a Hartford Police Department uniform. Elena's face went pale. Colton, what is this? Colton took the microphone from the band leader. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to celebrate our anniversary. The crowd quieted. Elena stood frozen, her champagne glass shaking in her hand. 7 years ago, I married the woman I thought was the love of my life, Colton continued, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom. Tonight, I learned exactly who she really is, and I thought you all deserved to know too. Elena, sweetheart, would you join me up here? It wasn't a request. 300 pairs of eyes turned to Elena. She had no choice. Walking away would look guilty. So she climbed the small stage, her smile brittle. Colton, what are you doing? Telling the truth. For once. He pulled out his phone, connected it to the ballroom's projection system. The first image that appeared on the massive screen made Elena gasp. It was her and Preston, kissing, in front of his apartment building. This was taken 3 weeks ago, Colton said calmly. One of many such photos I have from the past 6 months. Colton, I'm not finished. Another photo, the two of them entering a hotel. Another, Elena handing Preston an envelope thick with cash. The crowd murmured. Elena's father stood up. What the hell is going on? Mr. Ashford, I'm so glad you asked. Colton turned to face him. Your daughter has been having an affair with Preston Caldwell, her direct supervisor at Ashford Industries, for approximately 18 months. But that's not the interesting part. He clicked to the next slide. It was a spreadsheet. Even from across the room, the highlighted numbers were visible. $2,347,562.89. This is how much Elena and Mr. Caldwell have embezzled from your company over the past 4 years. Fake vendor accounts. Falsified consulting contracts. All traced back to an offshore account they share. Randolph Ashford's face turned purple. Elena grabbed the microphone. This is insane. He's lying. He's just angry because I'm successful and he's a failure. Am I? Colton smiled. That's interesting. Because I have one more announcement. He clicked again. The screen showed an article from TechCrunch dated 3 months earlier. Stealth startup data vault acquired by Microsoft for $89 million. My pointless hobby, the coding project you mocked for 7 years, was sold to Microsoft in September. I am the sole founder and owner. After taxes, I cleared approximately $62 million. The ballroom exploded in shocked whispers. Elena's mouth opened and closed like a fish. But wait, Colton continued, enjoying himself now. There's more. He played an audio clip. Elena's voice filled the ballroom. Once I announce the baby, everyone will assume it's his. Then I'll file for divorce. Constance Ashford screamed. Baby. Oh, yes, Colton said. Elena's pregnant. Congratulations, Mr. Caldwell. You're going to be a father. Preston tried to run. Luther Briggs, posing as a waiter, blocked the exit. Elena lunged for Colton, screaming incoherently. Security guards pulled her back. I have one final surprise, Colton said, his voice cutting through the chaos. Elena, remember that prenup you insisted on? The one that protected your family's money. She was crying now, mascara streaming down her face. It also states that in cases of proven infidelity and criminal activity, you forfeit all marital claims, which means you get nothing. Not the townhouse, not the cars, nothing. It all stays with me. He handed the microphone to Francesca Moretti. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced crisply, I am serving Mrs. Reed with divorce papers effective immediately. Additionally, evidence of embezzlement has been forwarded to Hartford Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit. Arrest warrants are being prepared. The police officer stepped forward. Elena Ashford Reed, you're under arrest for... No. Elena shrieked. You can't do this. I'm from the Ashford family. You can't treat me like a criminal? The officer finished. Ma'am, that's exactly what you are. As they led her away in handcuffs, in front of 300 of Greenwich's elite, in front of her family, in front of everyone she'd ever wanted to impress, Elena locked eyes with Colton. I hate you, she hissed. I know, Colton said softly, but at least I'm not in handcuffs. The champagne glass she'd been holding shattered against the marble floor. 2 years later, Colton stood in the auditorium of the Greenwich Community Center, preparing to give a speech. The nonprofit he'd founded, Second Chances, dedicated to helping people escape abusive relationships, had grown beyond his wildest dreams. Funded by his fortune, it provided legal aid, housing, counseling, everything victims needed to rebuild their lives. Mr. Reed, his assistant, poked her head in. There's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Who is it? Elena Ashford. Colton's heart skipped. Show her in. Elena looked nothing like the woman who'd been arrested 2 years ago. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple dress from a department store. Her hair was different, shorter, less perfect. She looked smaller somehow. "Hello, Colton." "Elena, I wanted to apologize." "Okay." "And I wanted to ask for help. I got out 6 months ago. Did my time for the embezzlement. Preston's still in prison. He got longer because of his position. My family won't speak to me. My daughter," her voice cracked. "Preston's parents have her. I get supervised visits twice a month. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm broke. No one will hire me. I'm living in a shelter." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "You help people in situations like mine. I thought maybe—" Colton studied her for a long moment. Then he made a phone call. "Marlene, I have someone who needs our intake services. Can you set up an appointment?" He hung up, wrote an address on a card. "Go here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. They'll get you into a job training program, help you find housing, connect you with a counselor. Everything you need to get back on your feet." Elena stared at the card, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Why would you help me? After everything I did?" "Because you're a person who made terrible choices and faced consequences. But everyone deserves a second chance to do better." He paused. "That's what my uncle believed. That's what I believe now, too." "Thank you," she whispered. "One condition." She looked up. "The job they find you? You take it. Whatever it is. No complaints about being too good for it. No expecting special treatment because of your last name. You do the work. You rebuild from the bottom. You prove you've actually changed." "I will. I promise." "Then we're done here." As she left, Colton's assistant returned. "That was kind of you," she said. "My uncle once told me that revenge is a dish best served cold. But redemption? That's a gift you give yourself by being better than the people who hurt you." He smiled. "Besides, if Elena actually follows through, actually changes, that would be the ultimate proof that I was right about her all along." "What do you mean?" "That under all that cruelty, there was someone capable of being better. She just needed to lose everything to find it." 3 years later, Colton received a card in the mail. "Dear Colton, I wanted you to know that I've been clean and employed for 2 years now. I work at a nonprofit helping women in prison prepare for release. My daughter and I are rebuilding our relationship slowly. I'll never be able to undo what I did to you, but I'm trying every day to be the kind of person who would never do those things again. Thank you for giving me that chance when no one else would. Elena." Colton put the card in his desk drawer with other letters from people's second chances had helped. Then he went back to work. Because the best revenge wasn't destroying Elena. It was becoming so much better than she'd ever allowed him to be. And living well, truly well, with purpose and peace, was the sweetest victory of all. So that's the story of Colton Reed, the man everyone underestimated, the man who turned humiliation into power and revenge into redemption. What do you think? Did Colton do the right thing helping Elena at the end? Or should he have left her to struggle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the power of patience and the importance of standing up for yourself, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more stories of people who refuse to stay down. And remember, never let anyone convince you that you're worthless. The people who tear you down are usually the ones most afraid of what you'll become when you rise up. Thanks for watching. Until next time.